He directed Sandcastle and Apprentice, two films that played at the Cannes Film Festival, with one of them becoming Singapore's official entry to the Oscars. In 2025, he was the creative director of the 𝗙𝗍𝗍 NDP, his third National Day Parade, the country's most patriotic stage. He's also a founding member of Pink Dot, Singapore's biggest LGBTQ rally, and a gathering our country has never fully endorsed. This is Junfeng, the same person behind Singapore's biggest celebration and one of its most contested ones. On this episode, he talks about how he maintains that balance.
It was actually exhausting, but it felt very good.
Why Pink Dot still needs help.
After a while, you would just feel like, things are not changing, or you're still receiving pushback. Is this worth it?
And his hopes for Singapore.
I think we need to acknowledge our privilege sometimes when we have a voice or we have a platform. We just need to try and use it for others who don't.
Before the next episode of the 𝗙𝗲𝗏𝗏 podcast, here's a message from Folklore. Now, you and I are getting older. Everyone is, and we know that. But something harder to talk about is that at some point, your friends, family, parents will no longer be around. So if you could capture their stories and memories in a way that your whole family can remember for generations, would you? That's what we do at Folklore. We interview your loved ones about their life stories and favorite memories and turn those conversations into personalized podcasts that your family can listen to whenever you like. All done in as quick as 1 week. For more info, check out folklore.com or click on the link in the description. And now, on to the podcast. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of 𝗙𝗲𝗏𝗏, your thrice weekly podcast where we talk about the hottest news with a touch of what, Terence?
Good old humor.
Good old humor, man.
Yeah.
Today, very special episode.
Yeah.
Someone who, we've heard of, we've seen his work for years.
I think 99% of Singaporeans have seen his work.
Oh, that's true.
For sure. Yeah.
In fact, not just Singaporeans, international audiences, because we have with us Junfeng, who is a filmmaker and creative director of multiple NDPs, and also one of the founding members of Pink Dot.
Yeah.
Welcome, Junfeng.
Hi, everyone.
Welcome to 𝗙𝗲𝗏𝗏.
Yeah, welcome to 𝗙𝗲𝗏𝗏, man.
Yeah.
Happy to be here.
What's been up with you recently? Because you mentioned creative director for NDP as of now the last year's NDP, right? The big spectacle. What have you been doing just before this? Like where were you or what were you doing?
Well, I just got back from Sydney Film Festival. I was there on the international competition jury. And then it's actually one of the biggest film prizes around. So we had like 13 films in competition. And then we could only give one prize. And it was a film by a Russian director in exile. Called Minotaur. It's a really pure mastery, and we gave it $60,000.
Wow!
It's the Sydney Film Prize,
So is that like your ideal 12 days just watching 13 films?
It was quite amazing. Usually, I was on the Golden Horse Awards jury before, and also on the Locarno Film Festival jury. Like the Golden Horse one, I sometimes had to watch 5 films in one day.
Jeez.
Oh man!
Wow.
So I basically was you come out, you feel jet lag. You cannot. Yeah, you cannot. You don't know it's night already. That kind of thing. But this time it was really just 1 or 2 films a day. Very enjoyable. Sydney winter.
It's Australian pace, basically.
Yeah.
Compared to the Asian
Japan or Singapore.
In between, they even let us climb the Sydney Bridge, Harbour Bridge, and everything. It was very nice. Yeah, really very nice.
And it's a nice time of year also, weather-wise.
Well, and it wasn't raining at all. Usually it would. So very nice, yeah. So I was there because I'm also editing my film remotely with my editor who is in Poland. So we are kind of doing that remotely in between the films I was watching. So it's in a very nice headspace to be able to do that. Yeah.
But I'm assuming these are commitments you can only take up if you're not directing and creative directing NDP or production of film, right? So this year is like a lull year.
In a way, yeah. If this was last year in June, I say, I need to go for 12 days to go and watch movies. It wouldn't have been possible.
So take us back to last year. Was every day really just living and breathing 𝗙𝗍𝗍? Did you start seeing 60 just in the dark?
It was the 𝗙𝗍𝗍𝗶𝗍. So it was essentially the biggest one.
Yeah. Well, I was actually engaged since usually it's about a year that in advance we start. But last year I started a year and a half in advance.
Wow.
Yeah, so by early 2024, I already had to start imagining what the vibe will feel like in August 2025.
But how did the call come? Like, were you kind of like, did you hear rumblings that, oh, you're in the running? Or was it just suddenly, okay, Junfeng, we want you for SG60? Because you had already done 2018 and 2021.
Yeah. Well, for last year's one, it was pretty much an invite. I was happy to do it. I wasn't able to do the ones before that because I was waiting for my film to be greenlit, and there was always the chance that it would be greenlit. Then both would clash. But then last year I felt like, okay, it was going to be SG60, and I told my producers I don't want to say no to this. And then I went ahead to do it, and then just nice, as soon as I said yes to it, my film greened it.
Wow.
So I then actually had to juggle both. It was kind of the two biggest projects of my life, all kind of happening at the same time. So it was massive.
But I mean, kudos to you, because I'm normally skeptical about NDP. But I just happened to be hosting a side event for NDP at Marina Bay. So I had to watch the NDP 3 times, and I loved it. Even by the 3rd time, I was like, this is awesome. And there was just a very nice feel to it.
Got tears in it. Got tears.
Actually, certain parts, like the songs and the crowd. And
I remember when you rolled out the the veterans and they were on the back of vehicles and then they were just rolling past the crowd. That part was
great.
Like, whoa,
Well, some of that I cannot take credit for that, some of it is there are various committees involved. So that would have been a part of the mobile column, which is a different committee. I do step in once in a while to advise on things, but a lot of those things are decided by those committees.
But there was a film element as well, right, for each of these people. So there definitely must have been very strong tie-ins, like with everyone about who to feature and what it was going to do.
Yeah, and I think the value of starting early, which I did a year and a half in advance, was we could actually put the pieces together better. Sometimes when you are out of time and the committees kind of just work in silos, then it may not feel as integrated. So I think the benefit of having that longer runway allowed us to align better on a number of things. I think at the start, we knew that we wanted to do something bigger since it was SG60, and the Chairman Exco at that time had the idea of doing something with some kind of a satellite site. And I had some experience doing that in 2021 when
satellite site, meaning you mean?
Like a separate location, like beaming over, like to make the celebrations feel bigger.
Okay.
So 2021 we did that because it was the COVID year when we did it outdoors. So then we had like satellite sites in NUS and Changi Jewel and all of that. So last year, when there was this request to have something outside of the Padang, then I suggested, can we use the water because the bay was always something that I was hoping to be able to use and integrate into a show. So we then can imagine that, it's not like every site is ticketed, but you expand the audience, you put screens around, you actually pipe sound around the bay. So at every corner of the bay last year, you could minimally listen. So you don't just see fireworks, you can actually hear the music also. So it was quite strong. I think that we had something like, usually it's around 30,000 people at the Padang, but last year was something like 200,000 because it included the rest
bay.
Of the bay.
But this kind of decisions, like as the creative director, do you ask or do you direct and say, I want the bay this round? How much of
music piped around the bay? That's such a badass thing to say, though. I want it piped around the bay.
Banking appearing in a boat and he rush here by 2 minutes. How much of it?
Actually, all those things you just said, yeah, I did say I want.
Oh, okay.
But whether can or not, it depends on whether we have the resources to do that or there's political will to do that. And last year, there was.
So was your approach, I'm just going to really push my vision out and see what comes, or was it already kind of calibrated? Like, did you want banking to fly in on a trapeze or something, then it got watered down to a boat? Or like, how do you think about that?
No, I wanted I wanted a star out there on the bay, so that it's not all just people, like dancers that the public may not recognize I wanted someone that people would be excited to see, right? And Ben, I mean, because of how successful his song was from 2024, it became quite a natural choice.
Yeah.
And actually, Ben, last year, he didn't just do the performance, he also directed the opening.
Oh, the video, the wink,
and the wink.
Yeah.
Yes.
The wink. Correct.
So yeah, that was he was very involved, and I had him actually at a lot of the creative meetings also, and he was very willing to be a part of it, to listen, to learn, and we had a very good time.
Was there anything that you envisioned that for whatever reason did not make it?
What was the stuff that didn't make it?
Feel like we need a drum roll.
Not the trapeze that you mentioned.
Not the trapeze.
Yeah.
It's not actually last year. Interestingly, a lot of the things that we were hoping to achieve, we did get. Oh, the one thing we were hoping to have, like a drone show lah.
Oh, okay.
But we knew that it was hard because usually, for various reasons, including security reasons, it's challenging to have a drone show at NDP.
Yeah.
So, but we tried still. We tried to push. And in the end, when that didn't quite work out, that was when the team, my team, then suggested something else, which I was very happy to accept, which was the building projections.
Well, that was big.
And so the one on UOB was something that was proposed a little bit later.
Yeah.
But it turned out to be quite spectacular.
Yeah.
But my reservation at first to it was that I didn't want it to feel like it's an isolated thing. It needed to feel very integrated into the show.
Yeah.
And not an afterthought. So then, in order to do that, the amount of animation, including 2D animation, that had to go onto a massive canvas like that, in a way that's integrated with the show, created by the artwork of persons with disabilities, and all that became quite a huge undertaking. But I think the team really just held it all together and brought the vision to fruition.
Because to your credit, nothing felt disjointed. And I had the chance to watch it 3 times. So and everything felt like it had its place. So I think credit to you, even though they may have been like different teams working on different things, bringing it all together was a feat.
I think last year, so one of the things that we had already planned quite deep into was usually the theme song happens like later in the show, right? But I did feel like as we were putting it together, and what I usually do is I actually edit these videos with the music to get a sense of the pace and the overall vibe. And my sense then was that when it came to close to the finale with the theme song being there, the energy felt like it dropped, and it didn't feel right. So then, in film, in editing, we just edit, right? We just move. We can move it wherever we want. So I moved it to the front.
Control X and Control V.
So just move it to the front, and then suddenly the whole thing structurally just felt better. But it's not like just moving something on the timeline, right? Like by doing that, like the whole logistics around how to get Kit Chan and Charlie Lim on that, what we call the Roomba, is a huge, massive undertaking. So while conceptually you can imagine, okay, that might work better, but to switch it around required like thousands of people to coordinate also. So but those are little adjustments that I felt was fun to do. There's a lot of responsibility on your shoulders just to make moments like that happen.
But I always wonder, like, how do you then think about weather? Because do you plan things like, okay, if it rains, this should still be workable, or are there plan Bs? Because I mean, it is such a big risk, right?
Yeah. I mean, weather is always top of mind. There are contingencies for like severe weather and especially when there's lightning and how if we need to truncate something, what do we do? It's all that. It's like plan A to Z. It's all there already lah. But for me, I usually prefer if it's not dangerous, that even in a drizzle, even in the rain, the show should continue and in fact, visually, it can look a lot more cinematic. It can look more beautiful, right? True. So we do try to keep it rain or shine regardless. And usually there's also a beauty in everyone just staying put. For something like National Day lah. There's a beauty in that.
So when you do NDP and everything, do you miss being on a film set and basically working with a different group of people who are, really just centered on making your film happen as opposed to, like you say, building projections, boats, bays and everything? Is there always like this feeling like, I wish I was working on like my own film set and things like that when you're doing the NDP?
Not really lah. I mean, it's actually completely, even though I do use like some of my understanding for suspension of disbelief or how to entertain or keep someone engaged from a film, I apply it into a form like NDP. But actually, when you look at the different parts, it's vastly different. And the way an audience is to be engaged in a show that involves thousands of performers, music, fireworks, is quite different from a captive audience in the space of a cinema, where you can hold you can go a lot deeper lah. So for the NDP, the films, even the films there, you can't dive too deep. It kind of have to stay at a certain register, a certain frequency to just enough to hold the viewer. So those are things that I learned over time. I learned a lot from 𝗙𝗱𝗏 when I worked with him as a films and multimedia director in 2010, 14 and 15.
For NDP, is it?
Yeah, NDP. So it was those 3 NDPs that I actually learned the workflow of things, the some of his philosophies behind how to make a good show. And of course, from there, I kind of added my own elements when I became creative director lah. Yeah.
So you mentioned how starting off as a filmmaker informed certain decisions you did for NDP, right? What's the converse? I mean, you've done 3 NDPs. You worked on a film in parallel with your 3rd NDP after having 2. How did that experience, or did it influence any of your decisions on a film set?
Funnily, actually, yes. My next film will involve some degree of music and choreography performances on stage. So a lot of my understanding for how to stage a massive show like that actually did find its way lah into my next movie.
Will it involve a drone show in your movie?
Or mobile column?
No.
Ben Kheng on a boat. Ben Kheng on a boat.
Yeah. But a lot of song and a lot of music and performances also lah.
And that one is, I mean, kind of right now slated for sometime next year or something?
Next year, yeah, hopefully. Yeah, I mean, I've been working on this film for 8 years now, so I really hope it can be done by next year. Yeah.
I see.
Wow.
But how did it feel like the day after NDP or like the weeks after? Was there a big vacuum or was it more like, wow, okay, you can finally breathe?
Usually I would feel this withdrawal symptoms, like because you are so deep in it, for months, right? But last year, because as soon as I was done, because I was actually alternating between the two, I was shooting the film in Taiwan, and then after that I came back, and then I started prep for NDP, and then I went to Poland to do some editing, came back for NDP, then as soon as NDP was done, I went off again to Europe to continue to post. So it was really like I had to like switch between the two lah. But it was actually exhausting, but it felt very good. Like I was just riding on this adrenaline, you know, because you feel so strongly for both, and it's fun on both. So I last year was like, I think the most creative year I've had in a long time lah.
Wow. I mean that's why I think it's even crazier that not only film and you know directing NDP is on your plate lah, but also being a very big part of Pink Dot, right? And I think you are a founding member of Pink Dot as well. One of the founding members of the Pink Dot, and that's how many years of history are we talking about already? Like for those who don't know.
So I was there since the beginning, since like year 0. So it would have been, I was involved for 15 years.
15 years.
Yeah. So we started in 2000. The first Pink Dot was 2009. But the idea first came about in 2008 when the government had relaxed the rules of Speaker's Corner to allow protests and demonstrations. And there was, in fact, the media was quite quick to pick up on, could there then suddenly be a gay pride in Singapore? And one of our committee members, Roy Tan, he had first seeded the idea of wanting to do some kind of a pride event. But when some of us came together, we felt like, okay, if we want to do it, let's do it properly. Maybe it's good to examine, you know, what might the public's appetite be for something like that? What would be a better strategy in terms of changing hearts and minds? And that's how the whole branding of Pink Dot came about, that we wanted it to be actually something that was welcoming, actually perhaps maybe more welcoming of cis straight people, allies, to actually put a hand up to say, you know, we are here to support as well, you know, because I think for LGBTQ persons, we didn't want coming to the event itself to mean that you were coming out necessarily. And keeping in mind this was 2009, the political climate, the social climate was very different. So in creating this safe space, we were hoping that year after year, more and more people will show up, and that dot and the aerial shot that we take of the Pink Dot would come to symbolize the growing acceptance of queer people on this island. We thought it would take a few years, but then within 3 years we had flooded out the park, and then it became time to be creative. How else can we make that key image fresh and new? Because that image that we take every year was our way of actively or proactively engaging the media to say, hey, there's such a big event, there's an image that looks different every year, that, you know, publish us, you know, put us on the papers, because we needed a lot of that positive vibe, positive energy, portrayal, depiction of the community, which was not allowed, still not allowed in a lot of the mainstream media content. So that was our strategy of actually keeping the consciousness of the community, or the keeping that holding space within the public consciousness for our community, so that hopefully over time perceptions will change, misconceptions around the community will also change.
But I mean, when starting out, just going back to when starting out, You talked about the climate back then is very different. Was there fear, in the air when you all sat down together and said, hey, let's do this?
Of course there was fear. I mean, it was we are conditioned from young to believe that, any kind of protests or anything that sounds like a demonstration is basically making trouble, right? Like you are troublemakers. We had our as gay people, we would be afraid of being outed, or some would be afraid of being outed for fear of losing their jobs. That's one. But then to be involved with what looked like a social political cause in that climate there was a lot of fear. Just a few years before that, I don't know if you remember the Mr. Brown. There was a Mr. Brown thing that happened at City Hall, and people showed up in brown, and then they had their identities or the particulars taken down and stuff like that. So for us, we wanted people to show up in pink. Of course, that was it was a designated area by the government. But you don't know You don't know if you'll be marked. You don't know if there'll be any kinds of consequences afterwards, right? But we all did it in good faith, feeling like we have every right to be doing this, and we were doing it really because we all lived through that period of fear of needing to stay in the closet, and we just didn't want to wish that upon future generations, right? We just felt that change was necessary, and if we were at that time at this kind of a gridlock, when the government was saying, oh, we will have 377A, but we will not actively enforce it, and then let society's attitudes change. But then at the same time, we had media laws that prohibit any kind of positive depiction of LGBTQ persons, right? Then how will our mindsets change? Surely there has to be something done such that we could actually open that space over time to soften the ground, to allow change to eventually happen. So in the earlier years, we were not really pushing the government to do anything. We recognized that there was a vast majority of Singaporeans that had a very skewed understanding of the community, and we needed to reclaim those narratives, and we needed to change the perception of for the public, right? If the government wasn't going to do that, we would have to do that. So we took it upon ourselves, and it just so happened that actually YouTube first started at around that time. There was Facebook, but Facebook didn't even have a video function yet. So it was a lot of blogs. It was through blogs, and then back then it was also like flash mob was like a thing. So we used that vibe, that what felt popular at the time as to create the social movement. I mean, to this day, in essence, Pink Dot is still a flash mob, right? 17 years on, but it's still but it carries a very strong message, and it's a message that if we persisted long enough, would really have a strong impact, and eventually it did, right? With the repeal of 377A.
But just now, you mentioned that you wanted it to be more welcoming, right? Is from that, is it because I assume that if you were to do like Pride Singapore, it's almost a bit too antagonistic, too fast? Was that a concern, or what did you mean by being more welcoming while also wanting to do a Pride event?
I think in the mainstream consciousness, the idea of a gay Pride event would involve certain imagery in their heads, right? That might feel quite insular to just the community. But we knew that if we only relied on our own voices, we would not go very far, right? In terms of being able to have change. So we really needed our allies to step up. And we also needed other Singaporeans who maybe didn't realize they were allies yet, or wouldn't have considered themselves to be allies yet, right? To see things from our point of view and consider that their voice is important in us being able to lead better lives, right? Lead lives with dignity and basically not be treated as criminals in the eyes of the law. So all of that needed a larger group of people to stand with us. And we felt at that time that some of the impressions of gay pride elsewhere might not be the welcoming mode or welcoming event that Singaporeans need at that time. But over time, we did start to embrace the pride symbols with the rainbow flags and whatnot. But before that, we were actually actively trying to avoid it because of the what looked like negative impressions that the majority of Singaporeans would have on these symbols.
So when you started it, and you mentioned that you wanted change, right? Did you have an idea back in 2009 what change would look like, or was it focused really on the repealing of 377A? Or back then, what were you all thinking?
Actually, back in 2009, we knew that we didn't want to touch 377A anymore because it was only 2 years after the parliamentary petition failed, right? And the Prime Minister at the time had said that they would not actively enforce it, leave it. And by that time, the community was also there was a general fatigue on the topic, right? So we felt like, okay, you know what? If this feels like a dead end, it doesn't mean we stop doing anything. We need to, I think we felt the need to keep our voices alive and within the consciousness of the public. And that's why with Pink Dot, we steered it away from what was more polemical or maybe policy driven at the start. And if you watch the first campaign videos of Pink Dot, it was about, I know so and so who's gay, it's all like straight people speaking for the community, which on hindsight, could feel a little bit problematic if you think about it, because it feels like, we didn't have a voice ourselves, right? Yeah. But in that climate, at that time, it just felt like it was the only way we could get the messaging across. Then the second year we focused on family, on gay people and their families, and how love was possible. It's to inspire hope among people who may not be out yet to their families, and how they could still have that hope or still feel that connection. And maybe it's also for the parents and siblings and family members of queer people, right? To realize that actually showing your love for your gay children or your siblings who are LGBTQIA, like there is a lot of value in that. If this inclusive, loving society is what we believe in, that we want to advocate for.
We've been talking a lot about the positive aspects and how Pink Dot was meant to be welcoming, but definitely in the first few years, there started to be quite a bit of pushback, right, from from other groups, even relating to fundraising efforts and who could attend the event and all this. I mean, given that, you were there at the very start, like, what was there a moment where you felt like, oh shit, this could be the last Pink Dot that we do, or this could really be the moment where, it's really a clash of, almost like a clash of ideologies that could put a kibosh on all this?
Not really. I mean, well, the reasons we would have stopped would have been because we were just so tired.
No, just
in terms of the pushback that we received, so in 2014 was, if you remember, when Wear White happened. And that was the first time there was an organized pushback against the movement.
Yeah.
Before that, actually, we already had like little things like, the day before the event or the night before the event when we were setting up, we would see people come and pray around our like cables and generators.
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
So I mean, you would think like, okay,
spiritual sabotage.
Yeah, and of course, we always just say, okay, we feel that everything is above board, right? We are doing everything legally, which is why we needed to ensure that everything we were doing was 100% like kosher and legal. And that we were already under a lot of scrutiny. And on the day of the event, like we would be receiving complaints through the police that, the rubbish bin is overflowing, how come nobody is clearing it, down to that kind of thing, like complaints like that, like every little thing gets picked on.
Yeah.
So we had to be sure that we managed all of that. We had amazing volunteers that would then be clearing the trash and making sure that, things are run smoothly. But all along, actually, there was a rule for Hong Lim Park that foreigners were not allowed to participate, right? And all along, we had defined participation to be that one gesture at the end when we were forming the Pink Dot. In the day dot, it will be like, raising your placard or your handkerchiefs or whatever that's pink. If it's a night dot, it will be raising the torchlights, right? We defined the raising of this gesture to be the participation, right? Everything else, if you sat there and you listened, because it's a public space, it's a public park, we cannot stop people from coming. We did not define even sitting there and listening as being participation. And of course, when the police required that we had, other ways of, a proper way of defining what non-participation meant, we actually even had like an observation corner for non-Singaporeans.
Oh, really?
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
So you can be if you're in this corner, you are not participating.
I see.
You are just observing.
So observation corner in the speaker's corner.
So
The corner in the corner.
So for a while, actually, that was accepted as, because no one had done it before.
Yeah.
And we were defining it as we went. And I think logically and practically, that was all we could do. And the authorities also accepted that was all we could do. But then, as I suppose, as the complaints started coming in more, there was also, and then we were also then, at that time, funded a lot by, we were receiving a lot of sponsorship from the MNCs, right? And they all usually came with their, DEI programs, their staff would come. And if the staff was not Singaporeans, they knew that when it came to the formation of the dot, they would have to go to the observation corner. So all that was it was okay for a while. Until it became not okay.
Which was when?
After 2016. Yeah.
And
so
what changed?
There was an amendment to the Public Order Act such that okay, I don't know the technical terms specifically, but essentially, if an event is to be above a certain scale, and if the authorities are to be deemed it to be a special event, then the organizers would be compelled to put up barricades, and have safety and security measures. So it's that coupled with the no foreigner rule meant that we had to erect barricades. And then we had to check IDs. But we have to remember when we first started in 2009, there was always this fear, right? The sense of fear of participating in something like that, the fear of being outed when you came to an event like that. So there's a very uncomfortable relationship with having your ID checked for coming to Pink Dot. So we were very worried that people would be so afraid they won't show up. And then that was also the year when we after 2016 we were not allowed to have any more foreign sponsors or MNC sponsors. So overnight, basically, we lost all funding, right? I think by that time we had about 18 of these sponsors. We lost them overnight. But thanks to some of the allies in the community who stepped up, we started this thing called Red Dot for Pink Dot, where the plan was to get hopefully 100 local SMEs to sponsor it, right? And by the time of the event, in fact, by the time of the launch, we had already like 130. Like it was this groundswell. Groundswell, actually, the groundswell also came from the frustration and anger that the authorities could do that to Pink Dot, right? So people felt compelled to step up. There was also a sense, and people who showed up at Pink Dot that year, there was this snaking queue that went around Hong Lim Park twice, Like, it was so amazing, but so worrying at the same time, because it was the first time we were dealing with logistics related to queue systems and security checks and ID checks and back checks and all of that. So that year was massive. It was a huge logistical challenge, and we were all volunteers on board. So we had to just make it happen. And people, we had people who flew in, like Singaporeans who flew in from overseas just to participate at Pink Dot because they felt like there was a stake. And they had a stake in it, and there was something they felt very compelled to stand up for.
So how did it feel for you personally, like doing something that is getting a lot of support from one segment of society, but getting a lot of pushback from other segments of society? And it felt like every time you overcome an obstacle, there's a new obstacle. Like, was keeping up the morale, either personally or amongst the committee, tough, or were you all so galvanized by the mission that it never wavered?
It's not. I think there was always burnout within the committee. I mean, people did come and go. I mean, not everybody stayed for so long, and for good reasons. Like many of them, after a while, you would just feel like, like things are not changing, or you're still receiving pushback, and is this worth it, right? So there would be sentiments like that. But ultimately, I think many of us who came on board, like I said earlier, there's a certain fuel that comes from, I think, a kind of pain that comes from very deep down. Like, it's a pain that your experience in your growing up years of feeling like an outsider, feeling alone, and feeling ostracized, and you really just don't want that to persist, right? That's one. And two, by doing something about it, there's a healing element to it, right? That you feel like you are doing something about it. So there's something healing about it as well. So I think a lot of us deep down, I mean, if I psychoanalyze my friends on board, I mean, there's that. There's a very, very, very strong element of that. In terms of the pushback that we got, it could be frustrating at times, but it's not that we didn't expect it. I mean, we knew the circumstances that we were living in. We understood the discourses that were taking place, in society, and we knew that pushback would come, right? But every time we received pushback, we always told ourselves that we need to rise above it, right? It is, if it is about changing hearts and changing minds, then we need to be willing to listen and have difficult conversations with people and understand where they're coming from, but at the same time be able to tell our stories and advocate for our side of the story, right?
Yeah.
So, and that's always very important, because the media was not always on our side also, or rather the media also had, the local media also had their hands tied in terms of what they could do. They shout too much for us, it looked like they're promoting us. And so I think it was always this dance that we had to do with the authorities, with the media, also with, the more conservative segments of society that were more vocally against us. And it was always this dance that we had to do to slowly move things forward. Yeah.
I mean, we talk about this like it's very far in the past, and it's almost like 10 years ago, right? But I mean, I remember as recent as last year's general election, there were politicians who were saying things like, "Oh, I'm not gay," on stage in front of large audiences of people. Did it surprise you that there were still, pockets of Singaporeans who so open about those views that they have, and that they would still be talking about it in that way, on a platform like the election?
Would I be surprised? No.
No, not surprised.
I mean, it's. I mean, these are attitudes that we have grown up with, right? Our ideas of masculinity, femininity, and sometimes asserting that feels necessary when one needs to somehow be legitimate or find legitimacy in the statements they want to make. So yeah, I mean, it's nothing new lah. Yeah. And I think these attitudes will always persist so long as there's homophobia out there, transphobia out there, and people sometimes find it hard to come to terms with the stuff in between. And then it feels like some form of transgression, and they feel very compelled to speak up about it. So yeah, I mean, these attitudes will always exist. I think as a society, we just need to ask ourselves, when attitudes like that exist, who is hurting, right? Who is ostracized, marginalized, and how can we do better?
But do you think that also coincides with a global de-emphasis on LGBTQ rights? Because I mean, we talk about news, current affairs with leaders like Trump, with DEI on the decline. Do you feel that? And I would go so far as to say that it's almost less cool to be an ally now. And I say that because I can imagine, social capital is like a currency, and you could see the wave of support for Pink Dot. And sometimes people there, of course, the cynical side of me, is it you're there to be seen or do you really support? But that's just the annoying cynical side of me. But now, when you look at the things that are being spoken about in the news, how blatant certain leaders are about how DEI is bullshit and all, do you think there's generally the world, the focus on it is declining, or people are kind of like going back to what it was?
I think when you are where I am as, an activist trying to find as many ally voices out there that would stand with you, you would take whatever comes, even if it's someone who wants to sound cool. It's okay, we just, because you need that voice and the strength in numbers, right, to be able to help even move the needle a little bit on some of these issues. So for me, I think whatever comes. But whether there is a trend now that's moving away, I think so, yes. I think, but these things also can come in waves. And I'm just hoping that people are not just standing with us only because it is trendy lah. That actually there is a real need for people to feel loved, feel that they belong, and these things are not about trends and what's the latest fad. So yeah, I think if we can look at it through that lens, that would be more helpful.
But so have people said to you that, okay, now that 377A has been repealed, like, is there a real relevance to having Pink Dot every year, for example? Is because that's a very, very big milestone, and probably, even for yourself, it's like something you could not even foresee when you first started it, right? Like, what work needs to continue to justify the existence of Pink Dot?
Well, Pink Dot will always be relevant so long as these negative attitudes persist, right? If it is about changing hearts and minds, then it is beyond any particular law or policy, that it should remain, it will remain relevant so long as, there are these negative attitudes. And yes, after 377A, people do ask, what's next?
Yeah.
And I do think that for some of us who have stepped off the committee, because we've given many years of our lives to it, now that I'm being kind of an observer, I also wonder, okay, what could be next? Of course, there would be discourses surrounding marriage equality or some kind of civil partnerships. I don't know if I think that time will come.
Yeah.
The time is probably not yet now. But yeah, at the meantime, in the meantime, there are issues related to transphobia, workplace discrimination. Actually, a lot of other things still persist, right? And it doesn't help that in the current political climate around the world, that less and less, right, these things are being supported, these rights are being supported. So, I mean, I do think Pink Dot really just needs to hold fort on this of this space. What we did notice over the years of working on Pink Dot was that while in the early years it was about changing hearts, changing minds, it was about a very outward. It was like a PR campaign for the queer community, right? But we didn't realize that after a few years, as people started to come, actually Pink Dot then became this annual safe space for the community where they could come, people could hold hands, be themselves, if for a day, if just for a day. That became very precious. And actually youths were also coming to find their tribe, to feel like they could be themselves out in the open. And then we realized what a precious space we had created, right? Because there was hardly anything else like this in Singapore. And so in maintaining that space and holding that space for whoever feels that their time has come, or they feel enough courage to step into the park in pink, just that moment for them is such a transformative moment. I think just holding space just for that is important enough.
So I mean, like, speaking about that safe space, right, and providing a space for people to experience that, but have you or do you ever get pushback from people within the community who are actually not a fan of how much attention the movement has gotten? Because I mean, anecdotally, on online chatter, I believe I have seen comments from people in the community who reflected a sentiment that, okay, we were living our own private lives, but then now it's brought so much attention on us. Like, have you come across feedback like that, and or like, how do you feel, even if it's just a handful of people who say that, hearing that?
Maybe in the earlier years, but I think if one is already comfortable with their own lives, then good for them. There will be people who actually do continue to live in maybe more hostile households, places that, are not welcoming and cannot find that joy or that sense of hope. This is a space that we have created for people like that, right? And I also feel that for perhaps individuals who have found a certain comfort zone, within, if they continue to stay in the closet, or if they are out but only within a particular circle, I think good for them. But I also hope that in time to come that they would be willing to step up for people who don't have such a space, and don't have a voice, but actually share an experience, that experience of pain and isolation, the way they might have in their earlier years, I think we need to acknowledge our privilege sometimes, right? When we have a voice or we have a platform, we just need to try and use it for others who don't.
So maybe, and this is a question to you personally, because I mean, even just hearing your responses to this, my question is, how do you remain so stoic? Is that something that's always been your trait? Because I mean, I can imagine, like, we've been in, or anyone who goes through obstacles over and over again, I mean, I can't imagine like being so calm and measured. And not just in this interview, even the steps that you have taken, the approach is all very measured. Is that something you've always been, or something that has been cultivated over time? Or is that just
You're
just
talking
who
about
you
me or talking about Pink Dot?
are? No, for you personally.
Okay.
Yeah.
For me personally, I don't know. I always feel like when people say, why you talk so soft, why you speak so slowly. I mean, I feel like I'm talking at my normal pace, or I am. To me, it's I do get frustrated. I do get angry.
Yeah.
And I do feel it, but maybe sometimes it doesn't show.
Or maybe let me give a bit more context, because like I can imagine people going through so many obstacles has almost digging their heels in and almost making it really it's us against them. But I mean, your story is very interesting because on one hand, you spend so many years building up this movement that is trying to change people's perspectives and almost bringing people together, but in some way pissing other people off. And yet you can swing all the way to be a creative director of NDP, where it's something that is almost, and I mean, I don't know whether I'm oversimplifying it. Is like one is anti-establishment, one is establishment. And correct me if that's a wrong phrase. But I think the maturity to balance those two things are what I meant by measured and thoughtful. Because I can imagine some people just swearing off, there's been so many policy changes that have made my life so difficult, so I do not want to have anything to do with the establishment.
Right.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah, so that's what I meant, because it's not just the way you talk. In fact, it's not the way you talk, it's the actions you take and being able to balance that and how you do that.
I don't see them as being that different. I think my starting point for doing the stuff that I do, including my own films, is actually coming from, I just want to have that connection. I want to believe that people can empathize, can feel, can see eventually how the other feels, and that's what I care for, you know. Even when I do something like NDP, that's what I try to advocate for. That the narratives don't need to be all about chest thumping success stories. We can acknowledge our vulnerabilities, our personal vulnerabilities. We can go darker. We can examine ourselves as human beings. Even before we look at ourselves as Singaporeans, we see ourselves as human beings, right? And how we feel, what do we have in common? And I would say that there is, at least from where I am, there is a through line in what I'm after when I believe in something enough to work on them for so long. So I do think that maybe it's just this belief that in human empathy, that so for the films that I've done, I always like to say that, when you see something as just being a topic or an issue, versus if you were to experience it through a story, you see it through a film, you then start to see it as a human experience, and not just this topic where you need to have a stand, or need to declare a stand on something. That it becomes a human experience, and you learn to see it from the point of view of the other. And that is the power of storytelling. It can take you to places physically, it can take you to places emotionally that to places that you never thought you would feel. And to me, that is, that's what I care very strongly for.
So then do you sometimes feel that certain forms of activism these days are almost too adversarial? And again, going back to your example where you and your founding members had the foresight to see that, okay, if we confront this issue head on in 2009, it's going to be more destructive than constructive. Let us kind of like take a more welcoming approach, but in the end, it was so effective. And sometimes when I see activism these days, I mean, even in the general political climate, everything is like, let's fight it on. That there's no middle ground. Do you feel that there's almost too much of that these days? And does that worry you?
These days, I think they have always been around, different ways of tackling something. And I don't like to, I won't dismiss actually how others would do it. I do believe that actually anger is a very valid emotion, and sometimes people are fueled by anger, right? And they could act out on it. Or their stories or their strategies could be informed by it. That's just not how I don't know how to do that. If it was coming from that place, or that in my case, I think yes, I do feel frustrated. I do feel angry sometimes. Like, why isn't this not happening yet? Or how can this still be happening in this day and age, right? But I then try to think in terms of how can I get the point across, such that people will be willing to listen. Because just because you want to tell a story doesn't mean someone else wants to hear it, right? So you then need to, I would then need to find a way to make it such that people would be more receptive to a point of view that I carry, right? But I do think also that in the larger social political space, there should be space for different kinds of activism, and there should be space for different kinds of emotions. I believe in a pluralistic kind of a civil society space. There's not one way over the other.
So are you still? You stepped down from the committee, but are you still active in advising the new committee or giving them ideas or anything?
Once in a while. Sometimes they do bounce things off me. I do think that last year they did something very marvelous, which is the time capsule, where they actually got different community groups, individuals to contribute, something that has meant something to them in their queer lives, right? Because we do believe that, in time to come, perhaps even in 10 years, some of these feelings or ideas or sentiments that we are holding on to now, people would move on from that, right? But it is quite important to actually understand what is it that certain generations went through, and learn from those experiences, and not take any of those things for granted also. So in this case, I thought they did a really wonderful job last year. This year, they are doing something that's a lot more community-led, whereby they are inviting people, inviting the public down to go to the various we've always had this community tent whereby different community groups are showcased for the counseling work that they do, for the other good work that's done beyond Pink Dot. I think this year they are pushing that more strongly, so that Pink Dot is using its platform to help, the the other community groups find a larger following or better understanding. So I think those are all great things to do to have the community understand itself better also, and have allies understand the community better also. So yeah, I mean, I would still encourage people to go to Pink Dot if you have time.
So what's the toughest challenge now? Because I'm sure there are always challenges that change over time. What is the toughest challenge you feel for Pink Dot, for the movement at this point in time?
It will be being able to keep going. Because sometimes when in the years when there's pushback, ironically, you get a spike in terms of people wanting to help you.
So a bit of controversy, then people come out
but
the
then
woodwork.
in times like that, when it feels like a lull, like the law already repealed, what else is there? Like then it feels like it could stagnate, or it could feel like it's going into this lull period. But actually, the community is still doing the work it needs to do for others in the community, because others are hurting and others are still going through tough times, and so the overall understanding for one another remains as relevant as ever, right? So we do need to keep it going. So they will face, some challenges with fundraising in times like that, because it doesn't feel like, there is
pressing issues,
enough things to push it forward.
It's like NDP lah. You need to start planning for the next NDP the day after, on August 10th. You need to start planning straight away.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. So I mean, like, what would you say? For someone like looking forward for you for the committee, what would the message be to someone who maybe isn't as aware about Pink Dot, or isn't as concerned about Pink Dot as they used to be? Like, what would you say to them?
I would say there's always value in coming to Pink Dot, because that dot, forming the dot has become like this annual tradition for the last 17 years, coming to the 18th year now. And this tradition is that symbol of acceptance and love and inclusion for the community. But at the same time, I think at the event itself, the committee does put in a lot of work to come up with newer things each time, newer voices to platform, to make speeches, community groups that have surfaced, that have interesting, activities or things that they want to stand up for. I think all these things, there's a lot to learn from a lot of that. Like one of the community groups called 𝗙𝗱𝗱𝗶𝗁𝗏 is started by being actually like a kind of a tuition thing for trans youth, right? Which you didn't, as a cisgender person, you may not imagine that there is a need for something like that, but there is, right? And so that there are these amazing people out there who are doing very good work. And if you're curious and if you feel like you have something you would like to contribute to, I mean, coming to Pink Dot is a great way to start, to see what's happening and how you can help.
So where should people go to find out more info about Pink Dot, about the work that you do? Any websites that we can include in the show notes?
Well, for Pink Dot, it would still be the website,
main website.
pink.sg. My own work.
Yeah.
Netflix lah. Go on Netflix and watch The Apprentice.
My film. Yeah, Apprentice is still on Netflix.
Yeah. Or your social media or anywhere you want to point people to.
Yeah, I mean, got my social media.
Okay,
it's on the show notes.
Instagram. Yeah. But I mean, I would say just check out some of the stuff that Pink Dot has been putting out. I mean, I'm speaking now almost like as an outsider already, right? But still a supporter. That they still need your support. They still need, whether it's in fundraising, whether it's in amplifying their messaging, all that is still necessary and urgent. So yeah, do check them out.
Okay. Cool.
Awesome. Cool.
But
so I mean, thanks so much for sharing. We just have one final question, which is our One Shiok Thing. So we will go first, and so you still have a few more minutes to think about something that you'd like to share with our audience. Ideally not one of your own films. This one is purely neutral, no plugging. If you want to plug anything, you can plug now. But for the One Shiok Thing, you got a few minutes. Terence, you have your One Shiok Thing.
I have been reading this book by a journalist who's writing about AI. It's called Empire of AI and Dreams and Nightmares in Sam Altman's Open AI. So, I think everyone's like hearing just nonstop about AI, but actually, one of the things I realized from reading this book is that actually this Open AI story was started maybe 2015, 2016 already, and there were a lot of things going on behind the scenes as we were all living our lives where very consequential decisions were being made already about the future. And now we're seeing all of these decisions come to fruition, right? And bust-ups between Sam Altman, Elon Musk and all. They all started 9-10 years ago. We essentially we've all been on this train, but we never knew that we were already on this journey already. If you bought a Tesla, you probably were somehow helping to fund OpenAI back then and already. So it's a very interesting book because it really goes in the psyche of the tech bro culture in Silicon Valley, how insular it is, but how it also led to so much resources being thrown to this technology that even back then, they had no clue where it was going to be. So it's a pretty interesting read.
And the name again is?
Empire of AI,
Is it a thick book?
Yes, The journalist's name is Karen Howe. It's quite thick. I can't tell because I'm reading on an ebook. So because I'm a 𝗙𝗲 already, so I have to make the font a lot bigger. So it's a lot more pages.
So you're pressing quite. You give yourself the illusion that you're reading a lot.
Fast and a lot. So that's my One Shiok Thing.
Cool. My One Shiok Thing. I mean, it's not to like just bring it back to the World Cup again, but I think for anyone who's not watching the World Cup, I think it's just worth looking at some of the highlights of the moments. Because again, looking at the state of the world today, where it feels like we are more divided than ever, this World Cup, granted it's in the US, has actually had a lot of nice moments. And again, kudos to the MediaCorp Sports channel because they show moments that are not just focused about football. Like one of my favorite clips was the manager of Curaçao tearing up as the team was making it onto the pitch. So it's the first time they've qualified for the World Cup. They managed to score 1 goal against Germany, who scored 7 against them. But when they scored the 1 goal to equalize, it was just, you can see the joy on the fans, the coach, and those sort of moments I think make the World Cup very special. So I mean, I'll put like one link where it's not really about the football, it's about the stories that are coming out from this World Cup, which I mean quite heartening. I mean, Iran played their game, no issue. They drew 2-2. Iraq played, and it's rare that you see countries coming together so harmoniously. Yeah, so that's been very nice. And it's still going to go on for quite a while. We're still very early in the stages. All right, Junfeng.
Well, the one thing I can think of is the film I just saw last night. I went to the premiere of Dear You.
Oh, you watched it in Teochew or?
In Teochew.
Oh,
lucky you, man.
One of the 4,800 got to watch it in Teochew.
And I mean, I mean, the film has its flaws, but I think it is a moving film, and it's because I saw it in Teochew. I mean, I'm not even Teochew myself, but just hearing it in the Chinese dialects just reminded me of my grandma, you know, and so that resonance was quite strong.
Yeah.
And I think the distributors might be trying to see if they could add more more screenings in the original language. Yeah. So we'll see if that can happen. And it's worthwhile going to the cinemas to see. I care a lot for people going to the cinemas because cinema is meant to be a communal experience. I think especially in this day and age where there's so much screen fatigue, right?
Yeah.
But that's also because we are often looking at our screens in isolation, right? It still remains very special when you are able to go to a cinema, especially a full one, where people can laugh together, cry together. And I mean, for me, I'm quite a cinephile, so I see all kinds of films, and typically I do love the art house films more. But in this case, you know, once in a while you have a title that comes along that like you want to bring your parents to, you know. And this is one such title. So do go and support the film. Yeah.
But I got friends who are so angry. They're saying, I'm going to go to JB to watch it. They can take my money because I want to listen to it in its original form.
Yeah.
So that's why I feel like, there's this pocket where a lot of people want to go back to cinema to watch certain films, whether it's, I don't know, Obsession or what's the
Backrooms.
Backrooms and all these. And Dear You, I think in our region also, a lot of people want to watch it. But for various reasons, they choose to put their money elsewhere. Yeah.
Well, I mean, where possible.
Yeah, where possible.
Where possible, and if, you know, new screenings do come up in Singapore, I would encourage everyone to support the screenings here, because the distributors do put in a lot of money to bring in the films, and obviously they're being punished for the language of the film, which is no fault of theirs. But I do hope that people will go to the cinemas in Singapore. Actually, the not going to cinema thing post-COVID is, it does happen elsewhere, but it is most severe in Singapore. For some reason. Elsewhere, the people are returning to the cinemas, and they are seeing close to pre-COVID kind of numbers. It's just that here somehow, things are not going as well.
So Terrence, don't encourage people to go JB lah.
I'm not encouraging. I'm just pointing out that there are people who are so angry about it, and we need to stop them from going JB to
everyone should be vocal about how it should be allowed to be screened in Teochew and change the screening in Singapore.
No, absolutely. I mean, I think in this day and age, it's just quite baffling that such a policy still exists. When I saw the film last night, I was reading the subtitles. I have to read the subtitles to understand. But it's not, and I didn't walk out suddenly like feeling like I want to speak Teochew. But I did walk out thinking about my grandmother, right? Simply because of the sound of the language. That made me feel that way.
So it's such a sweet thing. Like when we were talking about it on yesterday's episode, we didn't even think about that. Like the fact that it might remind you of your earlier generations.
Yeah,
it's true.
But cool.
Well, thanks for sharing that.
Thanks so much for joining us, Junfeng.
Thank you.
All the best with whatever you're working on now, your film
project.
Hopefully there's another NDP that you do. I don't know. When your film comes out, you're always welcome back here.
Thank you.
So Harish, how was that conversation with Junfeng, film director and creative director of NDP?
I mean, I liked how it shed light on a lot of what you think you already know about him as a filmmaker, creative director of NDP, but the story of, his motivations to start Pink Dot, and I mean, like the question I asked about his stoicism and measured approach to most things, the most clear was the Pink Dot approach, and understanding that if you go head on, you might not make that much headway. Because now you see a lot of activists, and I mean, we have covered activists who, put like the potatoes in exhaust pipes or beans in the tire, right? And then like confronting politicians and shouting at them and all that. It always feels like, is that really constructive? But Junfeng is like, he took a very different approach. And I mean, you can't deny the impact that Pink Dot has had.
Yeah. And I'm glad he said that, it's okay to, even if it's just to like a virtue signal that you want to support, right? Because I have been there before.
Yeah.
And I remember going to a Pink Dot, and then like, as they were doing the light up, then someone turned to me and said, "Thank you."
And you were like,
and I was like, man, look at me, man. Yeah. So at least I don't feel bad for feeling that. I mean, you just need the numbers and the voices at the moment.
Yeah.
So I think what he says is true, that even though they have had a lot of wins in recent years, but doesn't mean that the pain that people experience on a day-to-day basis isn't there. It's still there.
Yeah. But I mean, it is a challenging time for Pink Dot at this point, because I do remember those days where it almost became like a social event for people.
Yeah.
As a way to gather together and yes, show support, but also do something social. But now I think I can imagine there being less impetus to do that. So it is a challenging time for them. And I think the bigger problem is the global climate towards DEI and inclusivity and all that.
Yeah.
So now probably all the more they need as much support as possible.
Yeah. And it was quite interesting to hear him talk about the history of Pink Dot, because it almost slipped my mind about all these little skirmishes that happen, whether it's with authorities, with Wear White group, all that. And I remember reading all these things and feeling indignant at that point. But now years later, you see that 377A has been repealed. Then you're like, that was all worth the trouble. And your brain kind of just forgets all the struggle that it took to get there, right?
Yeah.
And just hearing him go through it again. And I mean, I almost, at a certain point, I think like how you asked, I felt tired. Hearing all the not less ups and more downs than anything.
And then pissed off how you don't get angry.
But
at least it made me feel better that when we get angry, okay there are different ways to approach the same topic.
Correct. And in some way that's what we do in Yalabat, right? You say that we are, some people paint that we are anti-establishment on this. But at the same time, government wants to work with us, we'll work with the government. And it's, you can balance that somehow and not go crazy.
Yeah. But you're one screw up. You're talking to a filmmaker, then you're saying people go JB watch film.
Hey, it becomes international regardless of where you watch it, right?
He's a poster boy for Singapore cinema, Terrence. My friends all going JB.
I could sense the uneasiness as he shifted his chair. No, but I'm not advocating for going JB. I'm saying how sad it is that we are at this stage where my friends who really want to watch the show have to go to elsewhere to watch it. I'm sad.
Yeah, but I mean, good to finally talk to him in person, and he took his time with certain answers. So hope everyone listening, hope you also enjoyed it. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you all soon. Before you go, we need your help. Getting great guests on the show isn't easy for a small team like us. But we keep doing it because these conversations, through the Southeast Asian lens, matter to the 700 plus million people who live here. So I'm asking for a favor. If you haven't followed the show yet, please hit follow so you don't miss anything. And if you have a second, it will really mean a lot to us if you could leave us a rating on Spotify. It helps us bring on bigger and better guests and keep these conversations free for you. Thank you so much.